Bonjour and welcome to La Forêt. So you must know about the passé composé and imparfait, which talks about the past actions. But do you know about PLUS-QUE-PARFAIT, which talks about the past of the past? Yes. So today in this video, we are going to learn about PLUS-QUE-PARFAIT in detail. So watch this video till the end so you don't miss out on anything important. Starting with what is PLUS-QUE-PARFAIT. A PLUS-QUE-PARFAIT is a tense that talks about past of the past. Means it is used to talk about the actions that has happened before another past actions. So it starts in the past and gets completed in the past. Let's understand it with the help of a diagram. So this point is your present and before this comes another point which is your past, where you use imparfait or passé composé. And before this point, there comes another point which is your PLUS-QUE-PARFAIT, which defines the actions that has happened before the actions that are already in the past. Now let's see the formation of PLUS-QUE-PARFAIT. To conjugate a verb in PLUS-QUE-PARFAIT, we need imparfait of être and avoir, and then we add past participle of the main verb. It is same as we do in passé composé, that we take être and avoir as an auxiliary verb and then we add the past participle of the main verb. But the only thing that changes here is that we take the imparfait form of être and avoir and not the present form. First, let's see the conjugations in PLUS-QUE-PARFAIT by using être. As you know that there are some verbs that use être as an auxiliary verb in the past, and those verbs start with Dr. and Mrs. Van den Trep, and the être is also used with the reflexive verbs. So here are all those verbs which use être as an auxiliary verb in the passé composé and also in the PLUS-QUE-PARFAIT. Let's just take one of them. So here I am taking the verb aller to conjugate in PLUS-QUE-PARFAIT. So first I'll conjugate être in imparfait, which are j'étais, tu étais, elle était, nous étions, vous étiez, and elles étaient. Now I'll add the past participle of the verb aller, which is aller. So it becomes j'étais allé, which means I had gone, tu étais allé, which means you had gone, elle était allé, which means he or she had gone, nous étions allés, which means we had gone, vous étiez allés, which means you had gone, and elles étaient allées, which means they had gone. But remember one most important thing. Whenever we use être as an auxiliary verb, we also take the gender into consideration. So here with je, tu, and elle, we will add the extra e if it's feminine. And with nous, vous, il, we add s to indicate the masculine plural and add es to indicate feminine plural. So remember that. One more point is that vous can be used in both plural and formal singular cases. Now let's see the conjugation in PLUS-QUE-PARFAIT by using avoir as an auxiliary verb. Avoir is used with the verbs other than the verbs that are used with être. And with avoir, we don't take the gender into consideration. So I'll take parler as a main verb and now let's conjugate it. First, we are going to conjugate avoir in imparfait. So it becomes j'avais, tu avais, il avait, nous avions, vous aviez, and elles avaient. And now we will add the past participle of the verb parler, which is parler. So now it becomes j'avais parlé, which means I had spoken, tu avais parlé, which means you had spoken, elle avait parlé, which means he or she had spoken, nous avions parlé, which means we had spoken, vous aviez parlé, which means you had spoken, and elles avaient parlé, which means they had spoken. Now let's see some common words that are used with PLUS-QUE-PARFAIT, which means that whenever you will see these words, it indicates that there's an action which has happened earlier. The first one is avant de or que means before. For example, j'avais mangé avant de sortir. I had eaten before going out. So here the first action is had eaten and the second action is going out. And that's why we used plus-que-parfait with the first one, which is had eaten. The second one is déjà, means already. It shows that the action was completed earlier. For example, elle avait déjà fini son travail. She had already finished her work. The third one is quand, which means when. When two past actions are linked with quand, the first one is in plus-que-parfait. For example, j'avais dormi quand il est arrivé. I had slept when he arrived. The fourth one is après que, means after. We use plus-que-parfait here, after après que. For example, après qu'il avait mangé, il est parti. Then we have dès que and aussitôt que. Sometimes these words can indicate plus-que-parfait when the action is clearly earlier. For example, dès qu'il avait terminé, il est sorti. As soon as he finished, he went out. Now let's understand it more clearly by doing some exercise. The first sentence is aussitôt que nous dash descendre, nous avons pris un bus. Here you will get the hint to use plus-que-parfait first with the word aussitôt que, and secondly, if we see the meaning of this sentence, it means that as soon as we had got down, we took a bus. So here the first action is of getting down and then they took a bus. And that's why, because descendre is the first action, we use the plus-que-parfait there. So with descendre, we use être as an auxiliary verb. We will use the imparfait form of être, which is étions with nous, and then add the past participle of descendre, which is descendu. So it's nous étions descendus. Let's see the second sentence. Nous avons réservé l'hôtel après que nous dash recevoir la confirmation. First we have après que, which indicates to use plus-que-parfait here. And secondly, if we see the meaning of the sentence, we see that we reserve the hotel after getting the confirmation. First we are getting the confirmation and then we are reserving the hotel. And because receiving the confirmation is the first action, we use the plus-que-parfait here. So we will take the imparfait form of avoir as an auxiliary verb and then add the past participle of recevoir, which is reçu. So it becomes nous avons reçu. The third sentence is quand elle dash terminer ses devoirs, elle est sortie avec ses amis. Here the first action is of finishing her homework and then she left or went out with her friends. And because terminer is the first action, we use the plus-que-parfait here. So we will take the imparfait form of avoir, which is avait with elle, and then add the past participle of terminer, which is terminé. So it becomes elle avait terminé. The fourth sentence is dès qu'il dash arrivé à la gare, il a appelé sa mère. Here you are seeing the word dès qu'il and you will get the hint of using plus-que-parfait here. But even if we see the meaning of the sentence here, we get to know that first he arrived at the station and then he called his mother. So here the first action is of arriving and that's why we will add the plus-que-parfait with arrivé. But with arrivé, we take être as an auxiliary verb. We will take the imparfait form of être, which is était with il, and use the past participle of the verb arriver, which is arrivé. So it becomes dès qu'il était arrivé. So this was all about plus-que-parfait and I hope you were able to understand everything clearly. Even if you have any doubts, you can drop it in the comment section and I'll see you in the next video.